Jake Paul and Mike Tyson have just faced off.
Crumbles Jake Paul by brutally changing the fight rules, forcing Jake to consider signing his will before stepping into the ring. Originally postponed to November 15th due to Tyson's health concerns, Jake cancelled it and announced he fight Mike Perry instead. However, Tyson didn't let that slide and laid it out for Jake. Cancel the fight and you owe $350 million plus all promotion and ticket fees. Faced with this massive bill, Jake quickly did a U-turn and agreed to fight. Now the game is in Tyson's hands, and Jake faces tough new rules. This mess wouldn't have happened if Jake had used his brain instead of canceling the fight. He shook things up by suddenly pulling the plug on his much-hyped match with Mike Tyson, with his eyes set on a new opponent, Mike Perry, for a show on July 20th. Now with Tyson's new rules in play, Jake is in a tight spot, wishing he had thought twice before making his impulsive decision. Yeah, the news is true, folks. Jake Paul will be fighting Mike Perry, Tampa, Florida, July 20th. Jake Paul thought Mike Perry was an easier target and a way to stay in the spotlight without breaking a sweat, but then came a plot twist no one saw coming. Tyson was planning to charge Jake a jaw-dropping $350 million for all the financial losses from the cancellation. Tyson wasn't about to let him off the hook that easily. He had a plan to teach Jake a brutal lesson. Tyson decided to shake things up by changing the fight rules, making them way tougher for Jake. It was like Tyson saying, "You want to play games? Fine, let's play by my rules and don't think it all happened after that fine announcement of $350 million that seriously had Jake sweating bullets. It wasn't some random number Tyson pulled out of thin air. It covered every penny of the marketing and promotional efforts that went into hyping the fight. Promoting a fight between two big names like Tyson and Paul involves a ton of money: TV deals, advertising, sponsorships, venue bookings, you name it. Jake suddenly found himself on the hook for all these costs, which he had totally underestimated or ignored in his grand plans to switch opponents. Seeing how confident Jake was back then, he clearly didn't anticipate the financial and logistical nightmare he would face. Tyson's new rules and the massive fine put Jake in a tight spot, making him wish he had thought twice before making his impulsive decision. The biggest ever. It's on pace to be the biggest fight ever, and we're involved. All those big all the biggest athletes in the world. Big November 28th. Hey, we lit here, we're lit at the Tyson Ranch. Adding insult to injury, Jake has seriously misjudged Tyson's health. Rumors were swirling that Tyson was too ill to fight, giving Jake a false sense of security. He probably thought Tyson would be too weak or distracted to enforce any real consequences. However, Tyson, ever the fighter, quickly squashed those rumors. Despite his health challenges, Tyson still has the heart of a lion and the mind of a seasoned champion. His determination to hold Jake account will show this tenacity and serve as a stern warning to anyone thinking they could mess with Iron Mike. Devastating news. I'm heartbroken, speechless, like gutted. We've been working so hard over here, everyone in this camp, and I just feel bad for everyone involved. As Jay tried the backtrack on his cancellation, he found himself in a full-blown panic. This wasn't just about saving face, it was about saving a fortune. His tearful podcast confession was a desperate attempt to make things right, but Tyson had already set his plan in motion by changing the fight rules. Tyson wasn't just looking to get even, he was making a statement. These new rules weren't just minor tweaks, they were game changers, designed to push Jake to his limits. Jake had seriously misjudged Tyson's health. Rumors were swirling that Tyson was too ill to fight, giving Jake a false sense of security. He probably thought Tyson would be too weak or distracted to enforce any real consequences. However, Tyson, ever the fighter, quickly squashed those rumors. Despite his health challenges, Tyson still has the heart of a lion and the mind of a seasoned champion. His determination to hold Jake Accountable showed his tenacity and served as a stern warning to anyone thinking they can mess with Iron Mike. Jake's initial confidence in switching opponents stemmed from his belief that Perry would be an easier target, allowing him to stay in the spotlight without breaking a sweat, but Tyson's $350 million for the cancellation sent Jake into a panic. Tyson wasn't about to let him off the hook easily. He had a plan to teach Jake a brutal lesson. Tyson decided to change the fight rules, making them much tougher for Jake. It was like Tyson saying, "You want to play games? Fine, let's play by my rules." Mike Tyson's move to change the fight rules against Jake Paul wasn't just to scare him, it was a well-calculated strategy that turned what looked like an uphill battle for the aging legend into a cleverly raped arena designed to exploit every one of Jake Paul's weaknesses. Initially, Jake was sitting pretty with the old rules, confident that the fight would go his way with cozy 3-minute rounds and 1-minute rest periods. Jake felt he had the stamina, agility, and tricks to handle Tyson. He was living in a dream world, thinking he had nothing to worry about. But Tyson, with his vast experience and tactical genius, saw right through Jake's bra. He knew that to teach Jake a lesson and reclaim his formidable reputation, he needed to flip the script completely. Tyson's strategic overhaul of the fight rules was meticulously designed to favor his strengths and expose Jake's vulnerabilities. First up, Tyson extended the round duration from 3 minutes to 4 minutes. This might seem like a small tweak, but the implications were huge. By adding that extra minute to each round, Tyson ensured the fight would be a true test of stamina, where Jake's youthful energy might just run out of steam under prolonged pressure. He also slashed the rest periods between rounds from a comfortable 1 minute to a measly 30 seconds. This drastic cut in recovery time meant fighters had to be in peak physical condition to maintain their performance. Tyson, with his legendary training regime, could handle shorter breaks with no problem. Jack, on the other hand, would be left scrambling to catch his breath, a challenge he definitely hadn't planned for. Another game-changing mode Tyson introduced was the removal of header. Originally, the fight was set to follow a standard safety protocol that included Hadar, a measure designed to reduce the risk of serious injuries. Hagar offers a level of protection that cushions blows, helps prevent cuts, and generally makes the fight somewhat safer for the fighters. But Tyson, ever the tactician, decided to throw that plane out the window. Tyson also introduced a continuous knockdown rule, another stroke of genius. Traditionally, a knockdown in boxing can often lead to a break in the action, with the possibility of the fight being stopped if a fighter is knocked down multiple times. This can sometimes provide an easy way out or a technical victory. However, Tyson's new rule dictates that the fight continues despite multiple knockdowns until one fighter is completely out or the round ends. This relentless approach removes any chance of an easy win by knockout and ensures that the fight is a true test of endurance and resilience for Jake Paul. The continuous knockdown rule presents a daunting challenge. Every time he gets knocked down, he must get back up and keep fighting, knowing that the round will only end when the time runs out or he's completely out. Jake must prepare not only physically but also mentally to withstand the bear of attacks from Tyson. Then Tyson up the end by extending the fight duration from 8 rounds to 12 rounds. This was a throwback to the classic era of boxing, where champions were made and broken over long, grueling matches. Tyson, having fought numerous 12-round bouts, was well versed in the strategy and stamina required for such length. Jake, used to shorter matches, now faced a marathon of endurance, pushing him into uncharted territory both physically and mentally. Tyson also played strict limits on clenching, a tactic Jake might have used to stall the fight and catch his breath. With the new rule, referees were instructed to break up clinches quickly, forcing the fighters to maintain a high pace and continuous action. This change ensured there'd be no easy way out for Jake, no chance to rest well in a clinch. Tyson's relentless style, characterized by constant aggression, would thrive Under these conditions, one of the more CTing changes was the introduction of point deductions for excessive back pain. Jake NF for his defensive tactics in occasional retreat could no longer rely on running away to avoid Tyson's onslaught with the threat of losing points for backpedaling. Jake had to stand his ground and engage planing right into Tyson's aggressive strategy. This rule ensured the fight remained intense and action-packed, much to Tyson's advantage. Open scoring was another brilliant addition by announcing the scores to the fighters after every round. Tyson introduced the psychological element of the fight. Jake could no longer rely on the mystery of the judges' scores. He knew exactly where he stood round by round. This transparency could mess with his head, especially if he found himself trailing Tyson on the scorecards. The pressure of knowing he was behind could lead to mistakes and desperation, which Tyson could exploit. A fighter who doesn't pass the evaluation could face fines, point deductions, or even disqualification from the fight. This creates immense pressure to be in top physical shape, as any shortcoming could pause not only the fight but also their career and reputation. For Jake Paul, this means ramping up his training regime to unprecedented levels to avoid these penalties. Jake's potential struggles to meet the conditioning standards are multifaceted. First is the physical aspect. Training to meet these rigorous standards means pushing his body harder than ever before. This involves not just traditional boxing training but also specialized workouts aimed at improving cardiovascular endurance, muscle strength, and overall the intensity of these workouts can lead to fatigue and injury if not managed properly, adding another layer of risk to Jake's preparation. The fight is being organized under a unique agreement that gives Tyson significant control over the bounce terms after Jake's mess of a cancellation. This deal stems from negotiations that recognized Tyson's star power and the public's burning desire to see him fight again. By agree to these terms, both parties ensure that the fight leads the highest standards of competition and entertainment, which includes the ability to implement specific rules that ramp up the intensity and fairness of the fight. But hey, what's your take on all this? Which of Tyson's new rules do you find the most exciting or brutal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's get the conversation rolling. English, auto-generated.